question to ask. Do you think children are stupid? Don't answer now. Hold that thought and let me tell a story. In 2014, I quit my first and only job and left the city of Bangalore and started staying in a small village called Banjarapalya, right outside it. I would sit at the local tea shop at around 4 p.m., sipping my evening tea, playing Temple Run on my phone. And incidentally, there was a public school right next door, and the kids would get out around the same time. We had no common language of communication, so we couldn't really talk to each other, but a few of them started getting interested in my phone. And after a few days of standing behind my back, one of them puts his hand forward and is basically asking for the phone. I put the phone in his hand, and immediately he's surrounded by 7 or 8 other kids, and the phone disappears. After 15 minutes, I get a bit nervous, and I try to peep inside the circle to see what's happening here. And the phone is no longer with the kid that I gave it to. It's with the 4th kid in the circle. And they're playing Temple Run as if they're pros, as if they're born playing Temple Run. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm pretty sure they don't speak English, and I have not seen a smartphone in the village at all, but somehow they managed to play it. I thought, okay, let's see if this works with laptops. I arranged for a few laptops and put them in a room and invite the kids to come and play on bigger screens. The kids show up, no instruction is given, all I do is turn around and start playing games on my laptop. And for the next few hours, the kids are running around a lot and whispering to each other, talking to each other, tapping the keyboard real hard, and then every few minutes somebody would come behind my back, breathe out my neck, watch what I'm doing on my screen, and then run back. And after 3 hours, there's again a bit of silence, and I'm nervous again. Now, I turn around to see what's happening, and these kids are nicely filed 2 per laptop and playing car racing, Barbie, Dexter, boxing on the browser. So it took them 3 hours, not only to figure out the computer, but to get on the internet and play games. Thought, okay, great. But can we do this with making stuff? I had a bag full of tools, a hammer, a hacksaw, a screwdriver, an Arduino, a bunch of components. And we took them all out, put them on the wall, and every day we started building some project, some DIY project from YouTube. So crawling robots, ball-throwing machines, squishy circuits, whatever the kids liked. And the problem was we had no money, and we had no materials. So we used to scavenge trash that people were throwing out, clean them up, bring them to our space, and build projects. Now, the kids enjoyed it so much, they started telling other people, and very quickly we started having adults and older people come to the space, even grandparents. And at some point, we had about 70 people show up at the space from the ages of 8 to 70. And now, it's impossible to do one project with 1 hammer, 1 screwdriver, 1 hacksaw with 70 people. So the kids find the solution. They break down into smaller groups, and they do what I did with them. So now, instead of all of them coming together, groups of people come to the space and build a project and leave, sometimes during the day and sometimes during the night. This felt great. It looked like a great learning environment. People are coming and doing things by themselves based on their own needs and interests and asking for very little help. So little that I thought it is almost running without me. And maybe it's time to see if it can actually run without me. So I left the village, and the entire space and tools and everything that were in there completely to them. I came back after 3 months, half expecting to see broken laptops, missing tools, and people who have disappeared. But of course, none of that happened. The laptops that broke down, they fixed it. There were more tools than before. So instead of taking things or stealing things from the space, the community was actually putting things into the space. And there were more people than before. And all of these new people had no idea who I was. To them, it didn't matter that I started the space or who started the space was theirs, period. Eventually, we started calling this space and other such spaces that we created around the world in various communities, Nooks. Now, Nooks are nothing like a conventional classroom. There are no teachers, there's no exams, no curriculum, no benches, desks. Instead, they're usually houses or physical structures with computers, internet, tools, and trash, and a fantastic and motivated community of co-learners. At a Nook, each individual decides what, when, and how they want to learn, and is supported by other people who are also doing the same. But what does a Nook truly do? It creates true choice. At Nooks, you can actually experiment with what is it that you are interested in. You see, self-learning is not about learning just by yourself. It means the freedom to choose what, when, and how you will learn, and then taking help from others. We've created Nooks in various communities. One of them we created in a refugee camp in Uganda, where refugees from about 9 countries stay there. And on day 1 in 2016, 120 people showed up. Now, when we look back, almost half of them have started their own enterprises, are creating music, selling art, making even movies. A group, thank you. A group is actually creating more such spaces, more learning spaces, more art spaces inside the camp. Another group is actually growing food in the camp and feeding the refugees. One person has started a repair cafe. And all of this with a simple collaboration with a local art group and another organization. We created a very different Nook in India, in a village in Punjab. Now, this village is torn with violence, with 2 factions fighting over political opinion, who would not see face to face. We started the space, and now the Nook is the only place where they actually gather, sit together, talk to each other, learn from each other, and violence has gone down. Nooks affect not only the individual, but the community around. But why are we doing this? Why are we creating Nooks? Why are we doing something so different? Our idea with the Nooks is to enable experimentation in education, which has not changed in over 400 years. We want to broaden the spectrum to what education can mean and what people imagine education to be. It is our hope that Nooks will serve not as the final point of learning, but as an inspiration for more educators around the world. We are surrounded by a myriad of problems, and we are not going to solve any of them if we keep sending our children to schools that assume that they are stupid. And hence, my question, do you still think children are stupid? Absolutely not. They can run their own schools, they can run their own learning environment, and they can do what they want to do. If you read about the history of education, you'd realize that there's no problem with education, but education itself seems to have become a problem. Thank you.